Hey guys, I just wanted to pop on here and do another video tutorial on how to approach your Scholastic Scope lesson that I posted in Google Classroom. So when you get into Google Classroom, this is the first screen that you would see. We're always going to get there by going into the classwork tab, and then we would go over here to the left and click on Scholastic Scope. That brings up our lesson or our assignment. So we're going to be using this slide deck multiple days. So in the instructions, I've laid out kind of what our focus is each day and what slides we'll be using. Today is our first day in the selection, the monster in the cave. So we're going to be previewing this selection and using slides 1 through 3. So I'll go ahead and click on that and bring that up. And if you'll remember, when we have used these slide decks in the past, you kind of go back and forth between present view and what we're seeing right now, which is just the layout of the presentation. So for right now, I'm not going to put it in present mode. You can see that these are the things that are contained in this Google slide deck, and these are the things that we'll be working through each day that we're reading this selection. So before we start reading, I just kind of want to prepare you for what this selection might teach us. We talk a lot about theme, and that's a hard thing to identify, but theme is the lesson or the message that the writer wanted readers to be able to take away from the story and apply to their own life. So these essential questions kind of lead us toward that theme. Is there always more than one side to a story? What criteria do we use to judge people's actions, and what is a hero? So if we can answer these questions, we can probably identify the theme of this story. These essential questions are the reason why we're reading this story in the first place. So to continue preparing ourselves for what we'll be reading, I'm going to go ahead and click on slide 2. This is a chart that has 5 statements, and you're just going to drag this diamond and put it in the agree or disagree column. So if I look at the first statement, there are 2 sides to every story. This is a statement that I agree with, but I might even want to put it here between agree and disagree, because sometimes there are even more than 2 sides to the story. And it's really important, I believe, to consider the different perspectives of the characters in each story and to kind of examine it from multiple points of view. And so I might be somewhere here in the middle, and you might go, no, there's only 2 sides. The rest are just details. Or maybe you don't agree at all, that there's only one viewpoint and that sometimes people just like to argue. I don't know. You have to kind of decide how you feel about this statement, and then you just drag it there. I'm not going to do every single one of these. I'll read each statement, but I really want you to form your own opinion. So I just did the first one as an example. And to drag the diamond, you just keep going back up and getting it. There's multiple diamonds. Statement 2, sometimes lying is justified. That's a tricky one. So you would grab your diamond and you would put it in the agree or disagree column. 3, whoever is the biggest is the most powerful. So you would drag your diamond, tell me whether you agree or disagree. There are more ways to categorize people than just as villains or heroes. Again, grab your diamond, drag it to agree or disagree. Cleverness and wisdom are the same thing. If you're not sure what cleverness is, if we look that up in the dictionary, I don't know if it's going to let me do that. Clever is kind of witty. Maybe it's not being book smart, but it's being common sense smart. Wisdom, I think everybody knows what that means. So when you think about cleverness and wisdom, are they the same thing or are they different? And if they're different, how are they different? Just be thinking about these. You don't have to write an answer down. It's just stuff that we want you to consider before you read the selection. And so then we're going to go ahead and click on slide 3. And I'm not going to show the whole video. I'm going to show you how to get to the video. So this is one where you could go ahead and put it in presentation mode. And then when you click on the background builder, it takes you to Scholastic Scope. And your screen will look like this. If you scroll up, there's a slideshow here. And you remember, anytime in the selection where we see that it has this symbol, there's more to that image than just here. So then you would click here and it takes you to the slideshow and you would scroll through and it has some background information for you. The Monster in the Cave is based on an epic poem. The poem is called The Odyssey and it was written down about 2,000 years ago. An epic poem is a long poem that tells a story. The Odyssey was composed by a man named Homer. That's a statue of him at the left. Homer did not invent the stories in the Odyssey. However, he collected the tales that had been passed down orally from generations. Some scholars believe that Homer may have actually been several people. We call stories like the Odyssey and the one that you're about to read, we call that traditional literature. Nobody really knows who the original storyteller was. It was just something that was passed down by word of mouth until somebody finally put it in writing. And like the slide states, Homer is the guy that's getting credit for writing it down, but Homer may have actually been more than one person, and they just kept adding to this story. This is a map of ancient Greece. The Odyssey comes from ancient Greece. That's where this story originated. The ancient Greek civilization started about 2,800 years ago. It lasted from 800 BC to 30 BC. Odysseus is the star of the story, so he's the main character. He's a warrior and a king of the Greek island of Ithaca, and the Odyssey is a story of Odysseus trying to get home after a long war. He has many adventures along the way. The Scope play, The Monster in the Cave, brings just one of these adventures to life, and it's a fun one. The Odyssey was the Marvel universe of its time. So if you think about Marvel and superheroes, that's what the Odyssey was during that time period. So it was a form of entertainment, and it was about these great heroes and the things that they went up against during that time period. If you were a kid in ancient Greece, you would have grown up hearing thrilling stories about the characters in the Odyssey, stories of gods and monsters and mortals. And these stories were often performed as a song and were very popular. The Odyssey begins at the end of a war. The events in the Odyssey begin immediately after the end of the Trojan War. Odysseus was key in helping the Greeks achieve victory in the Trojan War. There are many gods in Greek mythology, and they aren't always nice. In ancient Greece, people believed that gods controlled all aspects of human life, from the weather to who wins wars. In the Odyssey, the gods cause all sorts of problems for Odysseus. In the play, you'll encounter Poseidon, who really knows how to hold a grudge. Poseidon is the god of the sea. He is ill-tempered and moody. You do not want to get on his bad side. Unfortunately, he really hates Odysseus. You'll also hear about Zeus, the most powerful of all the Greek gods. Zeus is the god of the sky and thunder. His thunderbolt can shatter mountains and destroy enemies. Fortunately, Odysseus stays on his good side. The play has a Greek chorus. In ancient Greek theater, a group of actors stood on the stage and commented on the action of the performance, like a narrator who speaks directly to the audience. They wore masks and often spoke in unison. So that brings us to the end of the building background slideshow. So we're going to jump back to the assignment in Google Classroom, and you can see that I've completed all the activities for day 1, which was previewing. So we went through 3 slides, and we can exit the presentation. So we looked at the first slide, we did the agree or disagree, and then we viewed the slideshow. So that's all that we need to do today. We will be reading the story together tomorrow. If you have any questions or you're not sure how to maneuver the slide deck, go ahead and reach out and let me know. Love you guys. I hope you're doing well.